It is 6:30 p.m., and I would like to call to order this meeting of the Princeton Independent School District Board of Trustees on October 20th, 2025, and announce that a quorum of the board members is present. The meeting was duly called and has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. I am Cindy Darland, President of the Princeton ISD Board of Trustees, and on behalf of our PISD Board of Trustees and our Superintendent, Donald McIntyre, we welcome you, our guests, and our staff. Now, if you'll rise with me to pledge to the flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, one indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Dwayne Kelly will now lead you in the invocation.
Let's bow our heads, if you please. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for a time to come and do the school business here. Lord, we thank you that you provided a beautiful day for us, and we look forward to the rest of this week being a nice week, Lord. Lord, we pray that you would give us wisdom as we make decisions, give us insight as we contemplate different items within the agenda, Lord. In your name, amen.
Amen. Now the board will entertain comments from visitors. Any person wishing to address the board during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard in accordance with District Policy BED Local. The board is authorized to make reasonable limitations and regulations governing public comment. As such, the board will allow 3 minutes for all speakers. If the number of participants exceeds 10, it would diminish. The board will discuss agenda items later in the meeting during consideration. The board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The board has adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure, at the lowest possible administrative level, a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns. Each of these processes provides that if a resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal the administrative decision to the board as a properly posted agenda item. For further information on those policies, please contact the administration office. Speakers during the public comment period are responsible for the words they speak during public comment and would be solely liable for any damages if it is later determined that the words spoken injures a person's reputation, exposes the person to public hatred, contempt, ridicule, or causes financial injury. Under Texas law, PISD is immune from any claims for defamation. When you come up to the microphone, please state your name and where you live, and I will call you in order of your signatures. The first speaker is Charlotte Wilson. Can you pull your microphone up so we can hear you? That's even better.
Hold on 1 second, I'm sorry.
We're going to get it turned on, okay?
Thank you so much. Okay, when you're ready. Turn your mic on.
Hello, okay.
Yay.
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Wilson. I'm a Princeton parent, a former teacher in this district, a current special education teacher, and a candidate for the PISD Board of Trustees. I'm here tonight as someone who cares deeply about how the decisions made in this room reach classrooms, students, and families every single day. I'm really glad to see item 5.F, bilingual ESL report, included tonight. Princeton's bilingual and ESL population continues to grow, and that's something we should be proud of. As a former ESL teacher, I'd like to see more of the data that shows how these these programs are performing, such as trend tables from TELPAS and other assessment measures, and how that data is being used to track student success. It would also help to know when or if the district plans to consider expanding into dual language or other bilingual program models as our population continues to grow. Our bilingual and ESL teachers are doing incredible work, but they need consistent materials, time to plan, and meaningful data to guide instructions. I'd also like to address the consent agenda item 6. I understand it's designed to make meetings more efficient, but I encourage the board to consider pulling certain items, especially large purchase orders and personnel changes, out for open discussion. When major spending or staffing decisions are grouped and approved all at once, it can leave families and teachers feeling disconnected from the process. Even brief public explanations would go a long way towards building trust and showing confidence in the decisions being made. I'm very glad to see new library materials up for approval on item 7. This year's handling of classroom and library books caused confusion and added stress for teachers who are already stretched thin. Moving forward, I hope these decisions can be made proactively with clear communication and teacher input so that our students never lose access to the books that inspire their love of reading. I'd also like to ask for clarification on item 9, hiring of assistant superintendent for growth and development, whether it will go through an open interview process or if a candidate has already been identified. Transparency and leadership hiring builds confidence across the district. Our families and teachers simply want to know that new leaders are chosen through a fair and thoughtful process that values both experience and community trust. Finally, regarding TA District Vulnerability Assessment Item 10, I hope the results of this assessment will be shared publicly once complete. Families and staff want to understand where our district is strong, where we can improve, and what steps are being taken to keep our students safe. Thank you for the time and work that you do. Those of us in the classrooms and homes across Princeton all want the same thing: a district that plans ahead, communicates openly, and keeps students and teachers at the heart of every single decision. Every decision should start with one question: does this help students and the people who serve them? Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Darcel Johnson.
I'd like to say that this, I don't need a mic.
Could you pull
I
the
have
mic?
9
Oh,
children.
you don't need the microphone?
I have
We
9
have to
children.
have it so we can record it, sorry.
Okay, my name is Darcel Johnson. I'd like to say that I'm here on a pleasant, for a pleasant reason, but I'm not. This is pertaining to my son. So I'm talking about bullying. I'm talking about bullying with children. I'm talking about bullying with teachers. I have kept a detailed record of every time I've reached out to Princeton ISD pertaining to my son. I have every email that I've sent since September of 2022. But in 2021, you let my son walk away from Smith Elementary, and I had to go and find him. He was 5 at the time. It was unacceptable then, and now I have him being bullied in the classroom. It's totally unacceptable to me. I know that you have policies regarding that, and I've tried to work with you on that, but let me be clear. I'm not going gently into that good night. I'm not gonna back down. This is not just for my son, but this is for other kids that will experience and have experienced the same things. He deserves a place where he can feel safe, where he can go into a classroom and not have to worry about possibly obtaining a hernia. Some of you know about that because I reached out to you about last year when he was assaulted and I ended up having to take him to children. He was this close to having to get an operation because he was assaulted. You guys knew about it and you did nothing. You didn't address it. I have everything. What are you doing? Change your policies. Fix this. Period.
Thank you.
Our next speaker would be Sonia Ledesma.
Good evening. My name is Sonia Ledesma, and I'm a candidate in the school board election. I want to take a moment to thank each of you for the time, energy, and dedication you put into serving our district. As someone going through this campaigning process for the first time, I've gained a whole new appreciation for just how much work, commitment, and sacrifice goes into this role, and that's before it even begins. Even though I may not always agree with every decision made, I do respect the responsibility that comes with leading and serving our schools. At the end of the day, we all share the same goal, to see our students, teachers, and families thrive. Thank you for the work you continue to do for Princeton ISD.
Our next speaker will be Clinton Lawrence.
Clinton Lawrence, Princeton, Texas. I was watching the candidate forum the other day, and I heard Ms. Wilson mention there was an ICE raid at the school district. If this is a misunderstanding on my part, then I apologize. Here's the quote. My time here in Princeton, there was something that started with the ICE raids here. My students were affected by that. I went back to look in the local newspaper and on social media to see if there was any reference to an ICE raid that occurred at any of the campuses. However, I could not find anything that was in reference to an ICE raid that had occurred anywhere in the Princeton area. I would like for this board to respond to this question. Has there been any ICE raids in this district between January 20th of 2025 to October 20th of 2025? I'm just trying to find out the facts. It's my understanding this board can legally respond with factual information. Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence, we are not allowed to answer questions about non-agenda items. We can only correct misinformation if a misstatement is made.
So he did make the statement that there were ICE raids in the paper. Is that not a misstatement?
He made a statement that a comment was made that there was ICE raids, which is a true statement. No, the true statement was that it was made, not that there was.
In other words,
Sir, audience members are not allowed to participate in the meeting. I need you to be quiet, please.
I think the best way to deal with that would be a telephone call. Melissa Eight-Belade would be our next person to speak.
Let's go.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Eight-Belade. I'm a resident of Princeton. I'm also a candidate for school board. First, brief comments I'd like to make is around the potential for some preventative measures for safety and belonging on school campuses. We've heard from Darcel here, and I'm thinking that we really need something like I've experienced character strong education, so I'm making that recommendation to the board as something that is a certification that schools get individually by having committees of staff, of teachers, of students come together and make climates of safety, belonging, and empathy through individual decisions that these committees make. I also want to call attention to the railing on the top level of the elementary school buildings. This has been called to my attention in Mayfield and in Lowe, even to where a student has almost fallen over that railing at Lowe. So we really need to raise the literal bar for safety inside those schools, and just want to really make sure that that's forefront, something that we can address immediately if possible. I also have some comments around the upcoming, or I don't know if I've missed it, but the annual review of the new contract with TEE, and I urge you to keep Princeton in the Texas Association of School Boards. Federal funding streams may be shifting, but the purpose of Title II, Part A of the Every Student Succeed Acts is clear: to increase student achievement, to improve the quality and effectiveness of teachers and leaders, and ensure that all students have access to excellent educators. That mission is exactly why I think TASB or TASB matters because it gives school boards the framework to align every decision with student outcomes. I see the impact here in Princeton. My daughter came home from kindergarten at Mayfield beaming every day about what she learned, writing, tapping, and segmenting her colors and her words. Her teacher, Mrs. Lofton, a Teacher's Incentive Allotment awardee, focused on every child's growth. That attention built her, and before her, my oldest daughter's, confidence, curiosity, and creativity. TASB helps boards ensure that that kind of growth remains the true measure of success. This board has led in many ways, but you can go a step further to tie budget and staffing decisions directly to measurable student outcomes and to expand student voice beyond recognition ceremonies into surveys, panels, and real input. Every staffing decision and budget allocation should aim to replicate that kind of growth, confidence, and creativity in classrooms. Leaving TASB weakens that focus. While staying, it positions Princeton to grow while keeping achievement and excellent instruction as the benchmark. Leaving TASB will not do us any favors in being viewed as an education leader in North Texas. Rather, it will be a marker of a community that is rejecting research and limits access and cuts our students off from opportunity. Cities with great school districts attract businesses, families that stay, and support an overall community cohesion that should mark the next era of our growth in Princeton. Thank you. I'm Melissa H. Blade.
And our next speaker will be Lisette Alvarez.
Good evening. My name is Lisette Alvarez, and I live in Princeton, Texas. I am a mom to 2 children at our school district, and I have a few question statements. I hope I can get through it in this time. I hope, the first inquiry, I hope it can either be cleared up or at least followed up on the next meeting. The first inquiry I have is about how the school board is adhering to the governance and monitoring of David's Law, which is an anti-bullying law. At the last Canon Forum, it was stated that there's a CHAMPS initiative to address the rise in bullying in our schools, but few details were provided on how this initiative would reduce bullying in our schools. Does the initiative include teaching emotional intelligence to children starting in elementary school? Does the initiative include hiring additional guidance counselors to help in addressing behavioral issues for high-risk children who are having a tough time dealing with emotions or assessing if behavioral issues are stemming from an undiagnosed reason or from violence in their home that would require referrals? And coaching plans to help kids deal with those emotions? And does it include governance and monitoring of all bullying incidents, not just the ones that go through the superintendent first, before finally getting to the school board's desk, as advised per David's Law that the school board needs to monitor? My second inquiry is about the robotics curriculum that was provided to 2 middle schools and not to Matai Middle School. Were parents with students at Matai advised of this robotics program before the new school year started? If so, how? I have been advised that the school has almost 1,000 students, and I cannot imagine that all parents rejected a robotics program for their children. The lack of STEAM programs in middle schools and elementary schools in general is not preparing our students for the future. This has to be started early on to prepare our kids to understand STEAM curriculum, because it does get more complicated as science and technology just keeps advancing. My third inquiry is in reference to the charter school initiative that I understand is being paved. At the candidate forum, there was no confirmation or transparency that this was the plan. Can you confirm these plans and if the school board will have oversight over these charter schools, or will they completely be independent with the oversight being done by the state? And that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you.
And our next speaker will be Samia.
I start in the name of God. My name is Samia, and I'm Princeton resident. Well, I'm here today, first of all, I guess it's the National Lunch Week, and I really appreciated this thing that you guys are celebrating different cultures and ethnicities, and it's a really big thing. And honestly speaking, I was like touched by the gesture that all the students can enjoy each other's culture and their foods. My only request is this, that if it can happen, that there are like a menu in the lunch and where we have sushi and fish, but they are not pork-free, and there is no hand-slaughtered halal meat available for that. So I just wanted to request you guys that when you guys are doing these kinds of things, to just consider the kids who are from Muslim community. They are part of the school ISD, and if you can consider, like, if you're doing the fish and sushi, and it can be pork-free, so they can also enjoy the different cultures, or like just one day. I'm not saying that the whole week, but at least one day, let them enjoy the ethnicity of other cultures, and if the chicken can be for one day halal, so they can enjoy the chicken tikka. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for letting the board know your thoughts. Appreciate your time. Number 5 on our agenda is information items and reports. Our first one is the construction update.
Good evening, everyone. Colton Barnes here with Claycomb Architects for a construction update for October. Starting off, we're looking at it's not working. You'll have to click for me. We'll look at Bonchrock Middle School. So this is an overall site view along with the timeline and budget % complete update. And then some updated interior shots here. The courtyard and flat work, as well as the athletic field chain link fencing, are all complete. Aluminum canopy install is in progress. All of the interior brick is installed, and the wall texture, paint, and tile continues. And then over to Carroll Elementary School. Again, just an overall site update for you. And then some interior pictures here. And for updates on this one, the EIFS and roofing is near completion for the exterior. Wall texture and painting is in progress. The installation of wall tile began, as well as finishing up on the interior brick install. Ceiling grid install has started in the classroom corridors. Were there any questions on these projects? All right, thank you.
I've asked Mr. Anthony to also give us a little bit of historical information today. There's been some questions going on about bond funding and bond spending, and so we have prepared a little presentation to share that information, but it's not wanting to open for me, Phil. It's because my internet is dropped. Sorry, I've lost my Wi-Fi. Give me just 1 second. You can go ahead and sing a song for us, Bianca. Nobody would mind.
Nobody wants that, Dwayne. Nobody wants that.
There's always one.
Are you connected to the internet? That's where I tried to connect to. I'm going to try to connect to my phone real quick. Starla, don't connect to my phone. Too far.
Now would be a bad time to talk about the technology we put in this building.
We all know that this is related to the AWS,
Yes.
not Princeton ISD. So Girl, you know I'm trying to focus right now.
You're supposed to multitask.
Okay, there we go. All right. As long as my phone doesn't go down, we're good.
I'll see if I'm better if the,
If you just turn it on.
I think it was on, so it may
Okay.
or may not work. Okay, go give just a little historical perspective, and I'm going to go back quite a ways. Personally, I can only go back a quarter century, so so I won't catch Godwin, but everything from there forward. This is the 2002 bond, and your A through F up there were the items that the long-range committee, and for those who don't know, we meet and we have a committee of somewhere between 30 and 50 individuals representing the community that draw up our bond packages, that draw up what projects they would like us to do. And we just want to go through this and look at how the district has met and gone above on each of those requests. So the new high school, which is Princeton High School, renovation of Huddleston, which is now Canup, been several things throughout the years, Clark, Lacey repairs and construction. And then down below, in addition to the items that were called for and the dates that those were actually opened, there's a list of additional items that the committee listed. They would said, we don't have funds for this, but we would like to see if there's any way that the school can accomplish those things also. And so all of those listed down below were the ones that we were able to get either within the bond funds by trying to be under budget on those items at the top or through local construction funds. So all of those were accomplished. We both hit it. We came back for another bond 5 years later. Our bond plans are designed to last 10 years. Growth has made that and above projections very difficult. But even if it was going to last 10 years, you've got to start about 3 years ahead of time. And so this one lasted 5 years. We would hope for 7 before we had to go back to bond. But in 2007, we had another $46 million bond, and it included several new campuses. But as you see there at the top, it had a lot of issues of dealing with our existing older campuses at those times and trying to bring them up to par, and adding some classrooms to Clark Junior High, which was over. The expansion of the stadium back in 2007, that expansion of the stadium was kind of the current Vista side when that was brought into being, and so that was there at that time, and adding restrooms for tennis and all of those things at the top again were items that were specifically called for in the bond package, and you can tell there in the red that each and every one of those was completed and the date in which that was completed. And in addition, we still had those other items down below which we were able to get within that bond program. 7 to 13, 6 years later, we had a major expansion to Princeton High School. This is where that curved section was added, and Princeton High School was taken from what would hold about 1,000 students up to somewhere near 1,800. So that was quite a expansion to that. Included the gymnasium and new band halls and things like that on that also. In addition to that, we called for our second middle school. This is when Clark was our only middle school, and so this was Southard. And in this bond in 2013, it called for phase 1 of Southard to accommodate 600 students. You'll find by the time we were doing this, there's another bond right on the heels of this that we did phase 1 and phase 2 simultaneously, because at the rate we ended up growing, phase 1 you would have had to break ground on phase 2 at least the year you opened. And so those were completed. In addition, that was the expansion for our Kate Center down here where we have the Auto Tech and the HVAC and a number of those programs in the Bodwell Kate Center. And so we were pushing to expand our career and tech programs at that time quite a bit. In addition, you'll see quite a list of other things, such as roofs and some doors and conversions of buildings, additional parking, all of those type of things that the committee had asked for, and we were able to accomplish 100% of the additional items they had asked for. 2017, right on the heels of that, 4 years later, that number A up there is expand junior high 2. So that was done with the initial construction that Southern, it's opened at the 900 capacity. And you'll see that we had a number of campuses in this budget with elementaries and all that. And again, every item that was called for on the bond was accomplished, with some additionals. 2019, this is the bond that we just really completed when we added Green and James Elementaries, but it enlarged Lovelady to include 10th grade center there, as well as 3 elementary schools and another middle school. And all of those were completed. They're somewhere between 21 and 24. And in addition, that was right at the time that we ended up turning Huddleston into the Early Childhood Center and added our daycare. We'd added that in some portables a couple years ahead of that, and finally had a permanent home for them to land in. This is our current bond that we're on. It has a number of campuses on there. The only one that is completely opened would be the Early Childhood Center, which opened this fall. We have 2 other campuses that you just saw updates on that will open in 26. We've got 2 more elementaries. They're in the design phase to open the following year in 27. We have the high school, which is in schematic design, to open in 29. And then elementary 12 and middle school 5 are scheduled to open in 2030. And you'll notice that 3 of those campuses, the schedule has been moved up from 1 to 3 years, depending upon that. And then we have a list of items, and you'll notice we're not through all of that list at the bottom yet, but we have made and got about half of those done at this point in time, and we'll continue to work on the remainder. So how do we determine, because, you know, some of the comments I've heard are, well, classrooms are overcrowded, schools are overcrowded, and so we try to go by an enrollment trigger number. For example, our elementaries hold right at 700 students. When you look at the enrollment update, you'll find 5 of them are over 700 and 3 of them are under 700 right now, but we're trying to average 700 across an elementary school and open an additional elementary school every time we cross that next 700 number. Middle schools, Clark holds 700. The others are designed with portables to go up to 1,000. We said 900, but we've got 1,000 in them. A little over 1,000 in both Southern and Matei this year. And every time we go 2,700, 3,700, 4,700, additional 1,000 kids there would open an additional middle school. High schools is a little different since we've got 2 buildings, 9, 10, and 11, 12, and so that's why it's got 2 sets of numbers there on 29 next to it. It's either when the 9, 10 Lovelady goes over 2,000 students, or the 11, 12 Princeton Senior High goes over 1,750. And so when we cross those numbers, we would be looking at an enrollment trigger to add additional schools. But on those in red right there, we will actually exceed the enrollment trigger the year before we can open those campuses. And I'll go through the reasons for that. The easiest one to explain, because it's already happened, was Early Childhood Center number 2. This was when we opened it this fall, but it takes about 3 years from the time you start a bond. When our tremendous growth went past demographic projections, and we see that things are going to move up a couple of years, and you don't already have the funds for that, you got to go through the bond process, you got to go through the design process, and then you have the construction, which in best case scenario on a smaller campus is going to be a 3-year process. And so when you realize 2 years out that you're going to need a facility in 2 years that's not in your current bond, you're probably going to be late. And that was the what happened there. The other 4 campuses down there is a capacity issue. And I'm going to try to explain that here on some key factors to consider when we can do construction. The first one was those enrollment triggers. We've been several places. We tried to build schools when we were 90% full. That would be a perfect case scenario. You've got the students to warrant another school, but you're not overcrowded yet. But we've also been to 110% capacity because of not being able to have enough funds available or qualified to sell because of our capacity. So we're currently at 100%. That's what those triggers I just showed you. We also, some key factors are, why are some campuses? Sometimes it's just hard across 8 elementaries to get zoning perfect that every elementary is right at 700. This year, for some reason, Godwin Elementary is below projections. There are about 100 students below projections, which means Clark is below projections because Godwin feeds Clark. And so both of those campuses are somewhat below projections, which means if they're below and we're at or above our demographic numbers, somebody's above. And so the ability to rezone. Also, when we open campuses, Abbott and Tally Elementaries, which are in design right now to go out for bid sometime around January. One is the farthest south school we'll have, and one is the farthest north school we have. Greene and Mayfield are growing tremendously. You could not build a school, either one of those could help one, but not help the other. And so even though we would call for one elementary that year and one the following year, the fact that the board moved those to the same year allows zoning to be a little bit more consistent so that we can zone and give zoning that makes sense. And the following year, we're not moving the same child 2, 3, 4 years in a row, which is something we strive not to do. However, it's just impossible. But pairing up schools north and south like this does help us rezone once and get it much closer than if you just built either the north or the south school and tried to rezone. And this is what I was talking about, that bond approval. We're going to need some schools. You saw in the 2023, the last project was in 2030. There's, according to our current demographics that we had last year, we're going to need more schools in that same year that aren't in this current bond. So you're looking at somewhere around 27 to if you're going to meet that 3-year minimum, you're going to have to do something around that 27. So that's just right around the corner to look at that again. And the last piece is that bond capacity, which is basically 50 cents per $100 valuation on the appraised value within Princeton ISD. That's your limit. You can approve more bonds, but you can't sell them until you have enough value at the 50 cents to make the payment. I compared it to, because people ask us all the time, well, why don't you just sell all the bonds and build all the schools ahead of time? It'd be cheaper because you don't have inflation. You would have them in plenty of time. You wouldn't have all the stuff. But the problem is you can't qualify. I compared it to, if my wife told me it was okay to build a $2 million house, that'd be fantastic. That's the taxpayer saying, yes, we're giving you access to this much money. But the bank doesn't always agree. And so selling the bonds is just like that. We can't sell them until we qualify with enough tax base to sell them. And so because of those, yes, we will have some campuses that are over capacity. We will have some classrooms. We will have portables on the classrooms because we are really a unique animal in that we are a property poor, fast growth district. Most fast growth districts are not property poor. We could greatly use some tax base, some industrial, some commercial that doesn't come with kids attached. You don't ever gain ground when you only have houses and the houses come with kids. You gain the tax value, you gain kids, and it's just an endless battle trying to keep up with that. And so I do want to commend the board. I want to commend the community on how they've supported. We have passed every bond since 1999. I know of that. I don't know if any had ever failed before that, but the community has continually supported us. There's nothing more the community could do to support the schools. There's nothing more the school board can do to support the schools. The legislature could do something to support the schools. They could increase the amount of equalization of funding to bring up that so that property poor districts have the same access to providing facilities that rich districts do. But I do want to thank the community and the board for all they've done to at least keep the ball ahead of where we can, and so that we don't put our students at any more disadvantage. But we do apologize that some classrooms are over capacity, but there's really not much more we could do to address that situation.
I'd like to ask a question, Phil.
Oh,
That's
sure.
okay?
Sure.
First of all, thank you for your clarity and your transparency, but I have heard some questions about this. Is there another solution besides passing bonds?
There are lease purchase programs. There's QSAP bonds that are based upon M&O, but you can use some M&O funds. You'd be hard-pressed to come up with enough to build an entire campus or something like that, but there are some things of which you could do some smaller projects out. But every dollar you take from there is going to take money out of a classroom. So you're on the M&O side, and for those that don't understand, you've got your maintenance operation, which is all your operating, and then you've got your INS. And it's not only how those monies can be spent, but it's also where those monies come from. INS is greatly restricted, and I really would hate to try to dedicate much money out of the M&O to accomplish things, because we can tell we're struggling to try to pay our teachers as much as we can pay our teachers, maximize those. And if you start to try to do that, and so you're really making some hard choices there if you did take money from the M&O side to try to accomplish some of those.
Thank you. I just felt like we needed to clarify that too and see where we are. We need a rich uncle.
Very much.
Hey, Phil, I do have one question, because you said that we are going to be at maximum capacity for the schools being at 100%. What's the max that we could go? Because 100% is what we're saying, but I know we have a little bit of wiggle room to go a little bit further. What would that be?
Well, we're calling the 100% of our capacity at 700 on campuses. We have 5 campuses that are exceeding that. I think the largest campus was 730 something on there, and so we are going a little bit over that. But we're trying to average 700. We're averaging 680 something kids per campus right now this year on our students. So we're just a hair under that 700. Some campuses can go above that, but that's why we have portables on all of those campuses. If you're at 700 with portables, you can push that. We would love not to have portables, but portables is part of the scheme right now to get from point A to point B until you have enough capacity to build another campus. So what's that? 759. Harper's at 759 students, and we added portables to it this summer. And so, yes, you could push some of those up. You could bring in more than 4 portables. You get much more, and you get in trouble with your core facilities, your cafeterias, your gymnasiums, your music rooms, all of those things where you're trying to go there because you're adding regular classrooms, but we have a limit of how early and how late we would like to run lunch and how many tables you can have in there. And so the campuses are already built for that 700. With portables, we can push that up a little bit, but I don't know that we can zone much better than we have zoned. And although 5 campuses are at that, we do have 3 campuses that are still under that number. The only one that's markedly under that number right now is Godwin, and our demographer got that number wrong.
And we do have portables, though, currently, now, that we could technically be leveraging, yes?
Yes, we do have portables. Most of the campuses are in portables. The 2 elementary campuses do not have Green and Godwin has portables. They're not using them right now, but Godwin has portables.
But that's what I'm saying, that's not being
So
used,
Green
so we can.
I believe Green's the only elementary campus right now that doesn't have them. You might expect them this summer.
Okay, thank you.
So we have 2 years before the next Texas legislature. I would like to get real clarity on this so we can go and we can make sure that the next legislature, they do something for us.
That would be our instructional facilities allotment and existing debt allotment. And we really need to be sure, we appreciate the legislature giving, raising the homestead exemption, but we're not 100% positive whether that homestead exemption, they're going to hold us harmless in that, because when they give more, benefit there in lowering the property value of that house, so far they have held us harmless, which means the state has kicked in that additional level. If they don't do that for our next bond, it's going to get a lot harder, and they haven't raised the equalization level for existing or instructional facilities allotment since 1999. Since 1999, and you can tell, what construction costs have gone through there, and so if they would address that, it could help districts such as us, us, Anna, some of the other fast growth that aren't wealthier districts.
I think it's about time for them to hear us loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the curriculum update.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Grubbs, the Executive Director of Secondary.
Sorry. Rachel Nix, Executive Director of Elementary Education.
And we're here to give you a curriculum update about where we are. So during the months of August and September, campus administrators aligned with instructional coaches to provide teachers with specific support based on individual teacher need. So in August, we focused on proactive classroom management. In September, we focused on rigor and ensuring that we were meeting the depth of the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. During the month of October, brought our first 9 weeks test. Results showed alignment between what we are seeing in our classroom walkthrough data and our 9-week test data, providing evidence that we are moving forward to be proactive and not reactive. Our secondary 9-week test data showed overall positive gains in reading language arts from 6th grade through English 2, and consistency in biology, as well as 8th grade science. Additionally, there was positive movement forward in 7th and 8th grade math and U.S. history, and we have some work to do in 6th grade math and 8th grade social studies. In order to support all teachers with a heart for developing our new teachers to have success, we also purchased the Lead Forward field guides for all grades and core content to support teacher content knowledge, to understand the depth of the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills and how it is assessed on district and state assessments. These are being utilized during planning with teachers to provide support for all teachers and to support our new teachers. We also had our Secondary Academy Day, which was designed as a conference where teachers were able to select 4 sessions that applied directly to their areas of need. These sessions included support for our first-year teachers, how to write an effective extended constructed response, how to implement CTE, support for special education and implementing our inclusion program, implementing CHAMPS in the classroom, which is a proactive classroom management approach, and engagement strategies for learning. There were several other sessions as well, but the afternoon was spent on district-wide collaboration and grade level content teams for planning. We received positive feedback from teachers and administrators that the day was purposeful and productive to set everyone up for success for our second 9 weeks. This is like wobbling.
All right, for elementary, our August through present, the training has looked very similar. It has been great this year for secondary and elementary to align into one big partnership. All of our administrators and instructional coaches have gotten the same training each month, and so we are all on the same page with that. Also, the Lead Forward Field Guides were purchased for K through 5 as well, and so our teachers and instructional coaches have been utilizing those in their PLCs in their planning time. Looking at our 9 weeks test data, our second grade made major gains. If you guys think back to our strategic intervention plan that we put forth to you last year, second grade was the grade level that we were doing a lot of major changes in, going departmentalized, getting some more instruction with phonics, really changing up pride time. And so we were very proud that we put a big focus on early literacy instruction as well as math there, and we saw some huge gains in the second grade 9 weeks test in RLA as well as math. So that was very positive for us. We were very proud to see that. Also, we had some positive movement in our third and fifth grade RLA in math, and we even increased the rigor a little bit there in those grade levels. And so we were very excited to see that they made gains, especially in fifth grade RLA meets, which is the level we really want to try to shoot for, that meets and masters. They all made gains there, so we were very excited for that. We do have some work to do in fourth grade RLA and math. Our curriculum and instruction department did make a significant change that was very much needed to that fourth grade RLA test. We went back and looked at the test, and we noticed that some of the things that it was testing were not aligned to the new STAR 2.0 test over the last 2 and 3 years. And so it's always something that we analyze those tests. We want to make sure that what we're giving kids is aligned to the TEKS, not just the STAR test, but what is it their depth of knowledge needs to know that they're expected to know in their grade level. And so we went and made changes to that test. And so you did see a drop there, but we're going to continue to analyze that, and we've already gone and looked at specific low TEKS and have already targeted where we need to work at intervention-wise coming up this second 9 weeks, and have put kids in their level groups for pride time based on those low TEK levels. For Academy Day, we had supports that were very strategically designed for our elementary academy. I want to give a big shout out to our curriculum coordinators and our instructional coaches. They put a lot of work in on that day. That's a lot to plan for 8 different campuses and hundreds of teachers to come in and give them some meaningful PD, and they did an awesome job. So our kindergarten and first grade teachers were able to focus on early literacy instruction. They planned for math and RLA for the upcoming second 9 weeks. They got to do some hands-on activities and really work on phonics to see how that needs to work in small groups in their classrooms. Also, second through fifth grade teachers got to utilize training in their specific subject areas. We had outside trainers come in from MAP, from NWEA MAP Growth. They worked with second through fifth grade on how to utilize the data from their beginning of the year testing and how can they help students in the classroom in small groups to help them fill in those gaps of the learning that they're missing. They also got some great training from Region 10 on their ECR, their extended constructed responses. We even had second grade go in on that training, although they don't do an ECR. We want them starting that learning to prepare them for upcoming third graders. And so they already got to be a part of that training and learn how to utilize those skills and tips and tricks to help their second grade students get ready for third grade when they start that ECR. And so we got great feedback. I love that our instructional team, they really utilize our teacher feedback. They put out surveys, and those teachers are honest, and we love it. You know, there's some things we wish we had this, or this was fantastic, continue to keep this going. And so the day was very productive and successful, and we're just excited to continue success in the second 9 weeks. Any questions?
Thank you. I'm so excited. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to hear that the positive changes we've made for this year are already making a difference. this young in the year. So I have all kinds of ideas about how wonderful our end of the year is going to be. And y'all just keep on, and thank you so very much for everything everybody's doing, because our kids must learn.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So I just have one quick thing. I'm glad that you shared that because this is awesome, hearing about the Academy Day. That was really good. And then also seeing what you guys were doing and the feedback that you've gotten. I'm just curious about the feedback, though. Did it just come from like a survey? Was it random? Like, how did it go type thing? Just curious how we got that feedback.
They're a little different. So it is pretty specific on each of the different classes, elementary-wise, that we offer. They give some specific questions, and it is anonymous, so they can be very, very honest with their responses for us. But it can ask some specific things as far as how are you going to utilize this in the classroom? Which pieces were helpful? Which pieces could you maybe cut out that you feel like weren't as helpful? And then just general questions of how was the training? How would you improve? Rated on a scale of 1 to 10, things like that.
Love that. Thank you. Okay, one more, and then I'll shut up. So, I was listening to you. You were sharing that you guys had the training, and you talked about how they're focusing more on inclusion for the classrooms. Can you speak to that a little bit more? I'm just curious about our SPED students.
Sure. So one of the sessions that we had at our Academy Day was special education and how to implement inclusion. And inclusion is where support pushes into the classroom so that students can receive the best instruction possible from that general education teacher, with support in the classroom that allows any student in the room to receive additional help, but specifically, they're looking to support those students that need special accommodations in that classroom. And so it allows the opportunity for a student to receive the best possible instruction they can have from the benefit of our educators who have content knowledge, but also have a specialization in special education to provide those accommodations to the student. Specifically, we looked at LHS, this is the first year we've implemented inclusion, and across the board in our English classrooms and our Algebra 1 classroom, we've seen positive gains comparing last year's first 9 weeks test to this year's first 9 weeks test, and ensuring mastery of the content for the students. And so we saw gains in approaches, meets, and masters for our special education students, so it was a celebration.
Yay, that is awesome. Yeah. I love to hear that. Okay, you made me think of another question.
Okay.
I was writing it down as you were saying it. Okay, so you said that when you're doing that, we're trying to get more of the SPED students that are in the classroom to have that support when we're doing the inclusion. Are we also adequately getting a para to go in there with them as we're doing that? Because I know it does take a lot more time if you're trying to cater to a broader audience. Like you've got your general students and then those that you have in the inclusion.
Well, it's all based on the student's individual education plan and their schedule of services that they receive. And so the idea is that I can push into this room filled with all of these people, and I can support the students in a way that allows anyone to interact with their peers and also allows anyone to receive the best education possible. So a special education student doesn't have to be pulled out of class,
right,
and not receiving the best instruction possible from the person who knows the best about Algebra 1 or biology.
I think my question is more of, yes, to your point, I love that we're doing that and we're putting it all together, but do we have the support that they may need extra in the instance that it's needed? Because I know some of the things that have been shared with me from teachers in the district is that we've got the SPED students that are in classes and they may or may not have a para there to support. So it's making their job really, really hard, and they don't feel like they're able to reach all their students And I've had that to come from a couple of different teachers. So that's why I'm asking, is that something we should be considering or looking into?
In that case, on an individual student base, we would need to look at their individual plan and what their schedule of services looks like. And if the student's not being successful, then it might mean that we need to add more inclusion time for them. But that's done on an individual student basis and not something district-wide.
Okay.
The program is district-wide, but services are provided individually for special education students. So as a program district-wide, we're seeing success with it. In the case of the situation that you're referring to, we might need to look at those students individually to see if they need additional time and support.
Okay.
So is there a way for a teacher to reach out and say, I need more help with these special ed students in the classroom? And my second question on that is, do we have a percentage of special ed kids that we allow into a classroom with regular students so that the regular ed teacher is not overwhelmed?
Those are all great questions. I'm not over special education. So I don't have
sorry.
I
I
don't
put you on
have
the
those
spot.
numbers in front of me, so I really can't speak to the percentages
back
that
to-
you've
yeah.
got, but I
Get
can
back to us. You can
definitely
get back to us.
Talk to Ms. Fuller and get
I
those
would love
numbers
to
to
have
you.
that information. Thank you.
Me too.
And now that I know you're not over special ed, I had a question in regards to that.
It's okay, I am secondary education, so I can speak some to it.
Like Starla, I've heard some concerns from teachers and related to the impact on the non-special ed kids and their learning environment and being effective. Have you researched that? Is that something that you're aware of? Is there something we're doing along that line? And do you understand what I'm asking about?
Sure, absolutely. A teacher's heart is always most to go to the students who are struggling. And so when we go into planning, we're really looking at 4 questions. What do we want kids to know? How are we going to know that they know it? What are we going to do for the students that don't know it? And what are we going to do for the students that already know it? And so our teacher heart, and when we plan, we typically go to what are we going to do for the kids that don't know it? And so as an example, we purchased the Lead Forward Field Guides, and that helps to make sure that we understand the depth at which to teach. But it also helps us extend the lessons, because any one of the Lead Forward activities that we have has a section called Think It Up, and that's for the students that already have mastered that content. And so we're trying to support teachers in their planning and their engagement activities of students to be able to meet the needs of those who haven't mastered the content yet and those who have already mastered it. In the inclusion model, when we get to that point of who doesn't have it and who does have it, it allows for small group instruction to take place so that in a classroom full of 20 students, we're able to meet the needs of all of them. And the inclusion model of having the extra help and the extra hands-on in the classroom allows you as a teacher to address the kids that need that extra time or need the accommodations, while other kids who have already mastered the content. Or in the case of LHS, with the improvement of some of our data, our special education students are showing masters, which is the highest level. And they have the opportunity to participate and Think It Up. While it might be a general ed student, doesn't have that opportunity and needs to be retaught in the moment. So it allows us to meet the needs of all students rather than just those who don't get it.
Thank you for answering our questions.
You're welcome.
Do you think that there's an impact on students that because of disruptions in the class? And that's what I've heard, is that some of the disruptions that are in the classes, and it's hard for the teacher to handle that on her own, and that's a little bit what Star was saying about enough help. Has that been looked at? Are we measuring that in a way? Because I'm hearing that that's not what's happening, so.
Based on my classroom walkthroughs, I will tell you that I don't see a significant management concern in Princeton. And that's been very affirming to me because it's allowed us to focus on instruction. But I believe that's because we implemented and supported teachers back in the month of August on CHAMPS. And that's a proactive management support for teachers in the classroom that allows them to help students think through how they are going to communicate when they have conversations with each other, how they need to ask for help, what activity we're going to be doing, how are we going to move about the classroom, how are we going to participate with each other. And some teachers have been more successful with management than others. A brand new teacher might have needed some additional support to figure out how to implement it. And that's why we offered that session at Academy Day, that if you wanted support in management, you could sign up for the CHAMP session on how to implement it in your classroom. So that's something that we're offering. We continue to support that. But also, I'll recognize the administrators in the room tonight and the work that they've done with their assistant principals to go in and support those teachers that need additional classroom management support as well, to ensure that discipline doesn't become a problem and that we can be proactive to continue learning at the rate at which we're learning in the month of October. I'm very proud of our work so far.
That's wonderful, because if there's a significant discipline problem, it cuts, this is scientific, it cuts 60 to 70% of the learning out of the classroom, and we can't
Absolutely.
afford that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Sure, so it's a little different at elementary than secondary, so I can speak to secondary. We have instructional coaches. I have 8, 4 at the middle school and 4 at the high school in all the core content areas. And so our instructional coaches go in and they sit in all of our professional learning community planning meetings at least once a week. They also do classroom walkthroughs with administrators, both principals and assistant principals, at least once a month. And then they also do coaching one-on-one with teachers based on the level at which they need support. And so those are the instructional coaching pieces that they do. In addition to, at the secondary level, they're also supporting writing our curriculum and ensuring that we have alignment in all of our assessments. You want to share elementary?
Yes. Elementary is just a bit different because they are now campus-based, and that has been amazing. So I thank you guys for helping us make that change as well. But they are also participating in, we call them team planning meetings every week with every grade level and main subject area, and then our professional learning communities are bi-weekly, and those are built into the schedule. Those have been going very well. And then our 2 curriculum coordinators are writing the curriculum. I meet with them weekly to go over what are our main needs, which campuses are we getting to. I am on campus, at least every campus once a week, sometimes multiple times per week, depending on what the need may be, checking in with principals, sitting in on PLCs, sitting in on their campus leadership team meetings, walking classrooms. We actually just did a reflection with our principals, and it has been really, really exciting to see the shift in that into an instructional mindset and how much more time they are able to spend in the classrooms. And they're wanting to get in there more, and we want them in there more, but we have already seen a big shift into them pushing more into instruction and getting into those classrooms to help and see what's going on and coaching their teachers.
Okay.
Real quick. So I want to commend you on your progress and your focus to help. I'm glad to hear that the disruptions or the issues that isn't widespread. And I encourage anyone who's having those issues to reach out to their instructional coaches to make sure we can get them the assistance they need. On the surveys, that I know it's like an in-course surveys that you usually get, and everybody was, said they loved it and all that. Is there any constructive criticism that we got that we can use for the future that we saw?
Sure. For secondary, we offered 21 different sessions, and at the end of each session, the participants in that session gave feedback on what worked for you and what can you take back and implement in your classroom. And then the third piece was, what support do you need? And then that data was disaggregated based on what campus they work at. And that information was shared with their instructional coach, their campus principal, and assistant principal, so that that support could be provided immediately the very next week, so that we catch teachers and we walk right beside them so we don't fall.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
What about at the elementary level?
Oh, sorry.
The feedback on
Right?
that?
No, so ours is very similar to that. Our instructional coaches, they kind of had to divide and conquer. So they got to present ahead of time to one another so they knew what all the sessions were going to be about. And then the curriculum coordinators are the ones that take all of the survey responses. And again, ours are anonymous, and so we can't necessarily divvy them out to campuses. But we do meet as a coordinator and instructional team afterwards to see what can we pull from those. Also, our curriculum coordinators have added into our curriculum a chance for teachers to go in at any time during the 9 weeks. So if they see that something's going on in the curriculum and they're like, this was difficult for me, or hey, this was great and I love the way this was linked in there, can we do some more things like this? So it's giving our coordinators immediate feedback to know how they can go in and adjust things in the curriculum.
I just have one last comment, more so than a question. I love to see the work that's happening. I'm very excited about it, and definitely kudos to both of you and your teams for all the work that's going into it. I think my comment, rather than asking a question, is that if you guys can, investigate if they are needing more help, not just from like I know Dr. Grubbs, right? I know you mentioned that it was from the student, like it's student-based, but have we thought about or had conversations with the teachers to see who's struggling and what is it that they're struggling with? Because the consensus, or what has been shared with me on a consistent basis, is that currently many of our teachers are serving as both instructors and case managers without any additional planning or support. What steps are being taken to provide adequate staffing, such as a para, so that teachers can effectively plan, prepare, and support their students' IEPs? So that would be something that I would challenge you guys with, is just that if you can look into that, follow up with us, let us know kind of what are we doing. And if it is a staffing thing, let's talk about it, and let's see where we got money, what we can do to help with that. That's it.
Anybody else? Thank you. Next on the agenda is the enrollment update.
So just looking at the numbers, still seeing some growth. It has slowed a little bit, up 81 students from last month to this month. And you can see there on the chart where that growth has happened. 49 of those students at elementary, 20 at middle, and 12 at the high school. Looking year to year, 1,408. So you see that number's down just a little bit from year to year from what it was last month, but still over 1,400 students growth from last year to this year. And then compared to our projection, we have exceeded our October snapshot date by 75 students already for this month.
May I ask why you looked my way?
I'm just trying to speak into my mic and just glance that way.
Oh, okay.
Any questions?
Okay. Next on our agenda is drug testing.
So we supplied you with the latest round of drug testing results in your packet.
And next would be security report.
Those are also in your packet for your review of the incidences that occurred during the last month.
Hey, Mac.
Okay.
I hear people say, my kid's being bullied. And when I look at this report, I don't see much activity there. Could you define what bullying is so that it can be out in the open and not this mystery? Because it seems like it is. Sorry if I put you on the spot, but.
You did, because I really would not like to give one that's not the state definition. But basically, it's someone abusing an imbalance of power to mistreat another individual, either once or on a repetitive basis.
How do we typically handle that?
So typically, and we've had some reference to David's Law, we do have a full program that addresses those features that are in the law. If we have a student or parent that goes to an administrator, counselor, teacher, and says, and makes a report of bullying, we have a formal bullying packet that we do an investigation for that leads our administrators through a series of questions and things to look at, and goes and talks to witnesses, the victim, alleged bully, and goes through the whole process. It also calls for them to contact parents of both the alleged victim and the alleged bully and let them know that the investigation is happening. And then at the end of each of those, that it is declared that there was either a confirmed case of bullying or an unconfirmed case of bullying. In either section, there's still follow-up with the parents to talk through that. If it is found to be a confirmed case of bullying, there is discipline for the bully plus counseling, and then there's also counseling opportunities for the victims to give them an opportunity to talk to somebody about what they've just experienced and what they've been through. If it's turned out to be an unconfirmed case of bullying, there's still an opportunity for counseling for those students so that they can still talk through what happened and what the situation is. I think we have a little bit of an epidemic in this country right now that everything is bullying, and I don't think everything that we think is bullying is, and sometimes it's just someone wasn't being a very nice person that day and was just being mean. And, you know, we still address those still are bad, and we still try to make sure the students understand and learn from those experiences, but that's how those situations are handled.
Is it possible that somebody could fall through the cracks and go for months without getting any kind of
100%. You know, it's very often that we get a report that, you know, hey, my child's been bullied for the last 6 months, and we're like, who did you tell? Because, I mean, we still have to know, and I mean, I'm not trying to victim shame or anything like that, but at some point in time, somebody has to make a report so that we can do what we're supposed to do and that we can follow the steps and do the research and do the appropriate steps as needed.
Could you maybe define just a little bit better what an imbalance of power might look like? Maybe an example of that?
There could be lots of things. It could be, you know, multiple people ganging up on one person. It could be a physical imbalance of power. I'm stronger than you, so I'm going to pick on you. It could be an intellectual balance of power. I'm smarter than you, and I'm picking on you because you can't defend yourself. Anything like that could be determined an imbalance of power.
So in that example, is that like a one-time event, or is it over a period of time? Is it?
It could be either. You know, it used to be very consistent that in the original definition it had to be repetitive and something over time. And, you know, as we've grown and we've seen more, we understand now that you could be bullied one time. It could be a single incident. It does not have to be a repetitive event to be bullying.
Thank you. Sorry I put you on the spot, but I've heard
You're
enough that I want it out there.
So, Mac, one thing I think kind of bothers some people is sometimes when we discuss certain issues, we can't tell them about what the repercussions are of another student. So even though it's being addressed, sometimes that parent feels like, or that whomever feels like it's not being addressed, and it's not being addressed fairly, but we still, because I've come to you with some of those, and he said, well, we addressed it, and we did this, we did whatever, you know, and I'm not going to tell them what, you know, what the outcomes were that other child that isn't there is, you know.
Yeah, we all understand very clearly we don't want ourselves or our children to be talked about in public session.
Correct.
But for some reason, we're all okay with somebody else's child being talked about in open session. And I think that's a hard line to follow. And I understand it is tough to build trust and transparency when we're limited on what we can say. And I think that sometimes really ties our hands quite a bit when we have people in the community that want to know, well, I want to know what happened to the kid that did X, Y, Z on this date. Well, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that they have rights too, and that information is not public knowledge. But I can promise you, we do address it.
How is the bullying being addressed, the discipline for bullying at the elementary, and is it across the board of the consequences of that, or is it?
No, ma'am. There's a wide range because bullying can take so many different forms too, you know. So we see things, everything from counseling sessions and detentions to all the way to DAP, depending on the severity of what it is. And so it depends on the age level and the actions that are taking place, and then we respond accordingly based on our handbooks and the rules we have in place.
And on this report for the suspensions, does that include, do those numbers include students that have gone into ISS for their cell phones?
No. These would only be suspensions out of school.
Would you like that expanded, Bianca?
Yeah, I would. I would like to know.
We are working on pulling the information that you requested. We have not been able to get that, but I should have it to you by the end of the week. That will give you a detailed report of how many students have been placed in ISS and how many students are in each step of the process for the cell phone. I know you asked me for that, and we're trying to get that pulled. We had some issues with internet and some things today as we were working on that, but I will have that to you by the end of the week to all board members.
Well, just so that everyone else knows.
I saw it in your eye.
What I asked was, you know, I would really like to know, so that way I can, you know, answer the question when I'm asked out in the community about the discipline policy for the cell phone use. And what I would really like to see are the numbers and the data of, okay, how many students are going into ISS for a first-time offense? How many are repeat offenders? What are those numbers? What's the difference? If their numbers are the same, well, then, hey, maybe we need to look at a different discipline policy. If the first-time numbers and the repeat offender numbers are a significant difference, then, hey, you know what? Our policy, the discipline policy is working. But I would just like to see that.
And we'll have them to you by the end of the week, and I'll send those to everybody so you can see those and see where we stand on those. I know I gave you an update after the first month at that first board meeting of where we were, but we haven't updated you in a while, but I'll have those to you this week.
I do have another question.
Okay.
How does, just for my better understanding, so how do some of, like if some of these, wait, let me rephrase that. Sorry.
Please do.
I know, trying. So how do all of these affect a student on their, you know, in their future, or if they're looking at colleges and, you know, their record?
Again, it would depend. I mean, if, you know, some of the ones, the assaults and the arrest, you know, those would be things that, depending on their age, may or may not be on their criminal record for a long period of time. You know, if they're minors, most of those stuff, if they fulfill their duties for probation or whatever that they're assigned by the courts, will probably disappear and not have a long-lasting effect. But unfortunately, for some of the decisions of our students who are of age, who have made some poor decisions and been arrested for those will stay with them for some time.
But when we're not, just if we're talking about, you know, a suspension where, like, let's just say the cell phone use.
We don't forward those on to any colleges, nothing.
Okay.
You know, your high school disciplinary record pretty much stops at the end of your high school career.
All right.
You done? Okay. Next on the agenda is the bilingual ESL report. Ms. Sancy Fuller will be presenting to us.
Unfortunately, Ms. Fuller could not be here with us tonight, so Mr. Gunnels is pinch hitting.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I am not Ms. Fuller. So we're going to go through just a series of information and try to cover this. And like Max said, I apologize, Ms. Fuller's out, and so I'm filling in for her. I've tried to prepare extensively for this, but if you have questions, I may have to ask for the courtesy of a few hours to get you that information. So we're going to go through, these are the legal requirements of the report that we present every year, just the things that are required to be in the report. So I'm going to cover these as we go through. And we're going to start with the widest view that we can possibly take. You know, we frequently describe that 30,000-foot view. So we're going to look at the performance on STAR at all performance levels across all grades and subjects of our emergent bilingual students in the district versus emergent bilingual students in the state. And as you can see, those are 2 years worth of data, 24 and 25, and we are mirroring or outperforming the state very closely in all of those areas at the approaches, meets, and master's grade level. Going forward, when we look at the STAR progress measure, this is an expected amount of progress based on a student's prior year STAR score that the state believes that they should make. That's the definition of the progress measure. And so there again, when we look at the top two boxes there, that's the expected or accelerated, so that's all progress of emergent bilingual students in the district as compared to those in the state. You see that we are outperforming the state with emergent bilingual students in the district in terms of the amount of progress that they are making from one year to the next on STAR. And then at the bottom, you see the accelerated level, and that is a student that has actually exceeded their projection. They've done more than what the state says they should have with a year of instruction, and we have exceeded the state there, and we have grown from one year to the next in all of those areas. Moving forward into annual growth, this is a metric that is given to us from the A through F accountability standard there at the top, that school progress annual growth. That is a measure of students that move from one performance level to the next. So we talk about students that are at did not meet to approaches, approaches to meets, meets to masters, and that gives you in an aggregate of both subjects and then breaks it down by subject area in math and reading for the last 2 years. And it compares emergent bilingual students in the district to those in the state. And again, as you can see, we are increasing from one year to the next in those areas, and we are outperforming the state in most of those areas this year. At the bottom, we have another metric for accelerated learning, and what that measures is the percentage of students that did not pass the STAR exam in the previous year who then went on in the subsequent year to pass that exam. And as you can see there, we are mirroring very closely to the state's performance. We did see a slight decline in mathematics, but we still maintained a performance advantage over the state there. Moving into the TELPAS assessment, TELPAS is an actual discrete measure that we, an assessment that we give to students that is a measure of their English proficiency, so the extent to which they are becoming proficient in English. And it is separated into 4 different domains: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And it is further separated between kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and then secondary grades 3 through 12. So looking first at kindergarten through 2nd, the reason that those assessments are different is because the grade level of the student and their ability to actually read, write, and interact, it has to be tested differently in lower grades versus upper grades. As you can see at the lower grade levels, we're on the bottom, the state is on the top. And those are rated at levels of beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. Obviously, we want more students to be in those advanced and advanced high ratings. And as you can see there, we are outperforming the state in reading and writing with our K2 students. And the same is true in listening and speaking. We see that our K2 students are outperforming the state average. Moving into our upper grade students, 3 through 12, that is where we notice, and I'll speak to how we are addressing this, but we do notice some areas where we are at the upper ends lagging behind state progress there. Remember that our model is a transitional early exit model, so our focus is developing English proficiency in lower grades and exiting students from the program so that they then become general education students as opposed to the classification of emergent bilinguals, and they are no longer taking this exam. And you see the same there with the listening and speaking ratings. So all of those ratings are aggregated together in what we call a composite score, and that is what's used for accountability purposes and also used to determine whether or not a student reclassifies. And you can see there at the elementary level at K2, we are outperforming the state in the number of students who are moving up in those proficiency levels from one year to the next. And in the secondary, we are lagging behind at the rate of students that are making 1 year of progress in those areas, but we are very close in that composite score. Again, we believe that a lot of the struggles that we're facing here are coming from the number of students that are moving in later grades that are new to the country, so they are true emergent bilinguals that are non-English speaking. Sorry. So this is the slide that I really want to celebrate. These are the students who have met all the criteria to be considered reclassified, meaning according to the state, they are no longer considered to be emergent bilingual or English learning students. They are considered to be at proficiency level in English as a second language. And so you can see that we had 78 students at the secondary level that were able to meet that reclassification criteria, and 67 students at the elementary level, which is a huge change. And I don't have the historic data in the presentation, but if you go back 4 years, I believe, we were in the single digits in the number of students that were reclassified. So to go from that to 78 students meeting reclassification criteria across those grade levels, that is something that I definitely wanted to celebrate there. Looking at our upper grade levels at high school students, this is our graduation rate for students, and the 5 and 6 year, those are federal calculations, but really the 4-year graduation rate is just the number of students that graduate on time in 4 years. The rate of that, and I apologize for this not making it into the presentation, the rate of that for all students in Princeton ISD is 97.7% as compared to the 96.7% for our emergent bilingual students. So again, something to celebrate there at the rate of graduation for our emergent bilingual students. This is something that I'm also very proud of. You've heard me speak multiple times about our college, career, and military ready programs. And the way this is broken down, you can see the state, and then the district, and then those students in the district that are considered emergent bilingual still upon graduation. And those students, as you can see in most areas, categorically outperforming the state as a whole. And so I'm very proud of the work that our counseling staff's doing. I'm very proud of the work that's occurring in our career and technical education department to help those students find something to be considered ready to either enter the workforce upon graduation or to continue their education or to join the military. And then we are required to report on the number of teachers for whom an exception or waiver was filed. We had 16 in the district this year. These were primarily secondary teachers that had ESL students, emergent bilingual students in their class that did not yet have their ESL certification. We offered professional development to those teachers. And for those who continued through the program, we had a 100% pass rate for those who actually stayed with it and took the test there. We currently have 27 certified bilingual teachers in the district and 219 ESL certified district, and there were 177 students that were served in an alternative education or an alternative language program under that waiver provision. And then these are some of the trainings that we offered to our teachers throughout the year. The Destination ESL training was a partnership that we had with Region 10. We had a provider come in and offer these sessions to our students, or to our teachers, excuse me, who were not fully ESL certified, but also to other teachers who were interested in taking advantage of those trainings, as well as our Lexia training for the program that the board approved bringing in, and Learning Liaisons, which was a program that we partnered with to help teachers that were interested in obtaining that ESL certification to better serve students. So the celebrations, like I said, we already noted that we had several areas there throughout in the STAR progress measure area, really in STAR as a whole, where our EB students were outperforming EB students statewide. We also had, several areas where, or 6 out of 7 categories in the college, career, and military readiness classifications where EB students outperformed the state as a whole. And so I think those are things that, with everything that we're experiencing growth-wise, with everything we're experiencing in terms of hiring and bringing in new teachers, that's something that is definitely worth celebrating with our students. As of this week, we currently have 56 languages according to PEIMS data that are being spoken in this district, which is unbelievable. I think when I came here, we had 12, and that was not that long ago. So to go from that in the 14 years that I've been in this district, being up to 56 languages spoken across all campuses here is definitely something that's remarkable. From that data, these are our top 5 languages. Obviously, Spanish continues to be our #1 in non-English, but then we're seeing Urdu, Telugu, Farsi, and Arabic increasing in numbers. and to the point that we are now at the point of having 20 or more students classified as EB in that language classification. We have 20 students in pre-K that speak Urdu as a home language, and we have 20 students in first grade that speak Telugu as a home language. That does trigger the need to offer a bilingual program, except at this point the state does not offer a bilingual certification for those languages. So there's no statutory way to provide that bilingual program, but we do continue to support those teachers and those students through English as a second language instructional strategies. That's the information that I have. What questions can I answer?
I'd be curious, I see how we compare to the state. I'd be curious how we compare to local, other districts in the area to see if we're doing the most we can and where we measure there.
And I can pull those numbers for you. We have to be careful, though, in making those comparisons because a lot of the districts that touch us are not, so if we try to compare to like a McKinney.
I was going to say something like an Anna.
If we were to look
Yeah,
at that.
yeah,
I
something,
can pull
yeah,
that.
something that's comparable to what
If I
we
had my pen, I'd make it
have.
out. And just to talk about some of the things I told you, you know, those additional supports that we're offering, we were able to staff our bilingual specialist position this year. So we now have an individual in the district who functions as an instructional coach for our bilingual ESL teachers. We've had, as Ms. Nixon, Dr. Grubbs mentioned, our curriculum coordinators that the board was gracious enough to grant us this year. We've had them focusing on integrating vocabulary instruction across all content areas, as well as integrating those ELPs, the English Language Proficiency Standards, into the curriculum that they are writing so that they are in front of the teachers. And that's something, again, as Dr. Grubbs and Ms. Nix mentioned, the addition of the field guides, that's something that helps our teachers know specifically for this TEK, what are the vocabulary terms that we need to present, how can we pre-teach those terms, because that's the biggest barrier for a student reclassifying. It's not becoming conversationally proficient. There's a big difference between being conversationally proficient and academically proficient. You know, as I've shared with y'all, I had the outstanding experience when I was in college to do a semester abroad, and even though I spoke fluent conversational Spanish when I went there, when I got placed in a society and culture class, I was completely lost. I had no idea what was going on. And so, you know, being able to learn those terms and have that be at the forefront, you know, we're trying to make sure that we really are intentional about how we're placing those things. We've also added, over the last couple of years, we've added sheltered instructional classes to our middle school and our 910 center with a bilingual paraprofessional in those classrooms to support newcomers who are truly non-English speaking, so that they are receiving sheltered instruction to attain that English proficiency faster. Okay. Any other questions?
With this many languages, we have to think outside the box and
We
try to figure out
absolutely do.
how we can get these children to learn.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
For the ESL teachers that are certified now, how are they communicating with those students? Is there an app that they're using or a translation device, or how are they doing that?
So there are various tools that they have through technology. There are various translation apps that are available through Chromebooks that they are able to use. And I mean, Google Translate has come miles in its ability to actually accurately reflect languages that are spoken. We've had some campuses and we've had some teachers through the grant proposal process purchase individual translation devices that we've fielded as well. But it is a fine balance that you have to walk, because you want to present as much as possible in the target language. You don't want to continue to use that native language when the goal is to push towards, and that's the idea of that immersion environment, is to push them towards proficiency in the target language. So using visual vocabulary and things like that, but for the basic, just like at the elementary level where we have that 90-10 split between English and Spanish, we do have those technology apps that are available. And then, like I said, we have those sheltered classes where there are bilingual paraprofessionals to assist in providing instruction and clarification to students. But, the struggle that we have right now is in finding and allocating paraprofessionals that are bilingual in those target languages. It's very difficult to coordinate and place those people. We've had great luck with some of our permanent subs that the district or that the board granted us in having to hire some of those individuals that are fluent in Telugu and some of those other languages, and so we've used them in that capacity from time to time as well.
How are our ESL classes for adults going?
The last check-in that I had with the coordinator there, I believe we had, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, it's a large number. I believe it was somewhere around 80 participants that were coming, and there are classes every night of the week except Friday, and those are across several levels of proficiency. So we are continuing to have an overwhelmingly positive response to that.
That's wonderful. It would be really great if our paper would go ahead and plug that. Bob?
Bob did. I got to give a shout out to Bob. He did put that in the paper, and I very much appreciated that.
Let's do that, because this can help so many people, not just the adults, but also the children.
Absolutely, and it is a wonderful program. We've been able to partner with Collin College on that. There was a lapse in being able to provide that because the grant that it was allocated through was with Grayson College, and then they lost that grant, so Collin College had to go through the process of applying and obtaining and then staffing for that grant, and we worked very closely with them. But like anything that is government related, it does take some time to move through all of the processes there, but I've been very happy to see that that's expanded and been very well received by our community.
Great job, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just one other question for you guys to take away. Is there anything else that you are needing from us as a board right now to support our ESL students? I mean, the numbers are looking good. I see the improvement and where we were lagging. You can kind of see that, but is there anything else that we could be doing?
Not at this moment. We are continuing to have those conversations. We are continuing to look at some pilot programs that might yield some different results, and if those turn out positively, then we will definitely want to roll those out wider.
Thank you.
And is there any feedback that you're getting from those ESL teachers that they could need help with or anything like that?
The biggest thing is just that help with curriculum, making sure that they have something that they're not having to spend their time preparing, and so that's where we've had our curriculum coordinators working to develop curriculum that does have content in it that is specifically geared towards students that are non-English speaking or that are conversational but not yet academically fluent.
I guess another question would be is, do we have any feedback from any of those teachers? I mean, given the 57 different languages that we have in our district, and I know that we're trying to teach these students, in English, but I guess the feedback that I'm trying to find out is, are any of those teachers saying, hey, you know what, I am having a little bit of a difficult time,
And we do hear that, and that's why, like I said, staffing the ESL, the bilingual specialists to go in and look at strategies. And I think that's the thing that we get in the trap of, and even I as not so much I as a teacher, because that was what I taught. So, it was a little bit easier for me, but in dealing with, helping other teachers, there's not an easy button. There's not a button that you're going to be able to press that just automatically pushes a student to academic proficiency like that, which is what we want. And it is very difficult to see that student that is a little bit lost, that is a little bit overwhelmed. But going back to what we know works, going back to those consistent strategies, like I said, visual vocabulary, not having that reliance on translating to the native language, so that we are consistently presenting those terms and students are getting the benefit of hearing what the appropriate terminology in the target language is, and remembering to speak academically appropriately with all students when delivering instruction, and continuing that emphasis on the academic vocabulary that is tied to the TEK that we are providing instruction is. It's paramount, because the longer we continue to provide that instruction in their native language, the less likely that they are going to become proficient in English.
And how are we communicating that to their parents?
Communicating in what manner?
Of how we're trying to teach them, so that way the parents have a better understanding of, okay, here's what my kids are learning at school, and if they come home with their grades or something, because I do know a lot of foreign parents are very hard. I had one on them about grades, and so the difference is my mom, she spoke English, it's our primary language, but for those parents that do not speak English, how are we communicating with them to let them know, hey, this is what our curriculum is, we're teaching in this way. How are we communicating with those families and those parents so they have a better understanding as to why their kids' grades may not be up to par of what they believe it should be?
And so we do have, for those formal meetings like ARD meetings and things like that, we do have contracted translation services that are available. When we don't, we rely on written communication that we translate and send home, which is not ideal, but again, like I said, trying to staff
I hope
people
it's not
at
being
every
done
campus.
through Google. Google Translate.
Sometimes it is, and to
It's
be
not
honest,
the
Google
best.
Translate, it's not always perfect, but it does convey the meaning of what's being translated. And it has, I used to, as a Spanish teacher, one of the very first things that I did was I would have students take a song and put the lyrics into Google Translate and translate it, and then put them back into Google Translate and translate it back into English so that they could see just how garbled. I can't use that anymore as a teacher because Google Translate, through the advent of AI and just as technology increases, has gotten to the point that it gets it very close.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Does any trustee have any item that they want pulled for separate consideration?
Going to need to pull out the hiring piece in there.
Okay, hiring of personnel, Dwayne wants to pull out. Do I have a motion on the remaining items under the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion for the remaining items under the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Starla made the motion and Dwayne seconded. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, on the hiring of personnel, Dwayne has shared with me what he wants to talk about, and it relates to number 9. So we are going to have to hold that until our discussion for agenda 9.
I don't believe you're going to need to, because of the nature of number 9, it is a high enough level position that it is considered separately. So that is why it is not on this original list and she's not on there, because that is up for individual consideration.
And my concern was it was on the consent agenda, so that's why I pulled it. Other than that, I'm
Her
okay
name
with
is
everything.
under the consent agenda.
Okay, well then, yeah, I would advise to strike that and approve the rest of that, and we can discuss that position later in the agenda.
That's what we just
Very
did.
good.
That would work.
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of personnel with the striking of, name, Jonna? Yeah, okay, wasn't sure what I was supposed to use the name. I make a motion that we approve that with that exception.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Starla seconded. Dwayne made the motion, Starla seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right.
Before we move on, we'd like to introduce somebody real quick, please.
So I would like to thank you for that approval and introduce Mr. Joshua Prince, who will be our new Director of Technology. Mr. Prince has 15 years of experience in K-12 IT. That's him in the back of the room standing awkwardly. Yes.
Wondering if you could fix our internet?
He could have fixed the entire AWS outage single-handedly had he been there today. Unfortunately, he was not. He's been with our team for 8 years, and for the last 4 years, he has directly managed the infrastructure team in Princeton ISD, a truly capable individual with a wealth of experience, and so to introduce you to him.
You have a speech or anything you want to give us?
Come on up.
Come to the microphone.
I told him he wouldn't have to come to the mic. He would be able to stand in the back.
Why would you tell him that?
Let us get a good look at you. Come on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to continue serving Princeton ISD in this new capacity, and I'm excited to continue doing that. I'm very
Thank
good
you.
at public speaking.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yay, okay. Item number 7 is the approval of library material acquisitions.
So with the new laws that are out there, those new materials have been posted publicly for 30 days, and you guys have had those listed ahead of you. And so you've had opportunity to review those, and then we would like to just see you approve those tonight.
I did have a question, not about any of the books on the list, but the process of how do we get the, I mean, is there somewhere that's posted on the ISD page of how, the community or teachers, how do they know? How do we get this list?
Well, teachers, if they have a book that they want to be considered, they can go down and ask the librarian to look into that book, and they can submit that to her. She looks at those. She looks at all the books that the vendors are putting out that are top-selling books and those kind of things out there, does her research to make sure that they are appropriate for our community, and then she places them on the list if she feels that they are appropriate.
And then and then parents can make a recommendation as well, and then it goes through a screening process after that? Okay.
Is that policy or the process posted anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Do we have plans to document the process and post it anywhere?
I would be cautious of doing something that's going to get a lot of books that,
Well, obviously, there's not going to be, not every book can be added, but I think that,
We are relying on our teaching and our educational staff to make those recommendations.
They know the process that goes along with it, though.
Because I think it's their books that they're carrying in their classrooms, correct?
This is the books that are in the actual library for students to check out.
So this isn't for the classroom books?
This is for the actual purchase of new books for the actual library itself. And the new policy requires that all those books be posted for public knowledge and for the board 30 days prior to adopting them at this meeting.
And historically, the librarian chooses
Historically,
those,
the librarian. Nothing has really changed in the process other than they are posted for 30 days for the public and for you to review before you have to approve them. In the past, the librarian was the final say on making those orders.
so could teachers have these books in their classroom that's been approved as a classroom library?
Yes, eventually,
Okay.
the process is being worked out so that
Okay.
we can get the system in place for teachers who wish to have a classroom library to check out. We'll have the ability to do that. We are piloting that with how many teachers? 4 or 5 right now to make sure that it's actually workable and usable. So we have that in several classrooms right now as a pilot program, and then they will be able to. The biggest hurdle with that, and what we struggled with getting everybody to understand with what some of the changes had to happen this year, was the new law required that if a book was eligible for a student to check out or read in a class, we had to give parent electronic notification, have an electronic catalog, thank you, that's the word I'm looking for, of those books had to be out there for the public to see and for parents to see, and parents had to be notified electronically when the students checked out a book. That's the hurdle for classroom teachers that is a hard one to overcome, because now we have to expand our library destiny system out to each teacher's classroom. Some of our teachers probably aren't going to want to undertake the extra work that the law requires of them to have books with barcodes and have them scanned and go through that process to get them out. But if the teachers are wanting to do that, we are striving to try to find a methodology that meets the requirements of the law, that is not so cumbersome that we lose educational time doing so.
Well, that's good to hear that we're trying to come up with something for those teachers that would want to have that in their classrooms.
Do we know what other districts are doing?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Any questions? Do I have a motion on this?
I make a motion to approve the library materials as presented.
Bianca made the motion to approve the library materials. Is there a second? I'll second. John seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 8 is our budget amendment. I assume Mr. Powell will.
Well, I think I can cover most of this one. We really only had a couple of projects that we had actually budgeted in last year's budget, the DAEP renovation and the sewer repairs over behind Southern. Neither one of those projects have come to completion, and so we're needing to roll whatever funds was not expended in last year's budget. We need to roll them into this year's budget so we can continue those projects and pay them out of this current budget. So no increase to the budget on either project over what we'd already budgeted. We just need to push it from last fiscal year into this fiscal year so we can finish out those projects. Due to some difficulties, neither one of them were completed during the summer like we expected them to be.
So I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Wayne made the motion. Starla seconded. All in favor, please.
Bianca.
Pardon?
Starla.
Oh, I thought it was Starla. I was looking at Starla. Bianca seconded. I probably saw your mouth move and thought it was you. Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Thank you. Number 9 is the hiring of Assistant Superintendent of Growth and Development. If a member wants to discuss this, we need to move into executive session. It has been told that we do have some discussion. So because of that, we will move into executive session under Texas Government Code 551.074. We will not take any action in executive session. We will come back out in public session before we take any action. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
Yep.
I was going to ask, can we address number 10 and then go into executive?
Oh, you want to change the agenda number?
Could we do that?
That way we can.
That way we could just come back
That's agreeable
after
to
our
me.
discussion.
Everybody okay with that? Yeah. Great idea. Okay. We're going to change our agenda and go to 10 first. 10 is the TEA District Vulnerability Assessment.
So I included in your packet, we had Princeton ISD was selected for an in-depth audit this year. And so they came in and selected several of our campuses that they sent out an inspector who walked with our principals and our security director and went around to identify anything that they expected as a vulnerability. They did not find any major, what they called major exceptions. All of our campus passed. They did make a lot of minor suggestions to us on things that they thought we should complete, and I gave you that entire list in your packet so that you could see the items that was in there. The most common thing that was on the packet was we had some solid core exterior doors that there would be no way for somebody inside the building to see who was knocking on the door from the outside. So they've requested that we install peepholes in those doors or cameras on those doors so that the people on the interior could see who was knocking on the door before opening them. We have already installed all of those, and of all the items on your list, we have already completed 72% of those items prior to this meeting. And the last ones are just waiting on things that we have to come in or were just recommendations and not required.
Questions? Is there a motion on agenda number 10?
No action.
Oh, there's no action needed, sorry.
It is really just keeping you in the loop on
information.
what we have done and where we are on those. And so I really want to commend our security team and the actions that the board has taken in the past, because like I said, there was no major findings and no required actions that we had to do that was determined to be a major. So lots of minor things.
Okay, thank you so much. There was some misunderstanding here. If we do talk about an individual, we do have to go into executive session. It's not an option. So we do need to go into executive session, Texas Government Code 551.074. I think, can we have that motion again, John, to go into executive session? I make a motion to go into executive session. John made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second. Bianca seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. Great, thank you. We will be in executive session.
Are you okay with me releasing any staff that wishes to go home?
It's okay with me if it's okay with you. Do they need to be here?
I don't believe so.
Okay, go ahead.
Any staff that would like to leave at this time, you're dismissed.
Thank you.
No. Because there wasn't anything to be restricted from, but I can't talk about that until I'm not sitting in this board meeting in an official capacity of a board member at a meeting or a board session. You can't tell me one-to-one now that you're in executive session and I'm not in session. Well, I'm walking a tightrope if I've already declined as mentioned to comment to the rest of them. But I can send you a text message as soon as the board meeting's over. That would be fine. What if I said? You don't follow rules anyway, so go and do whatever you want.
Oh, that wasn't very nice.
It was true.
You'll find out, Bob, don't worry. We'll, this shouldn't take too long. If you want to wait, this shouldn't take too long. Okay. Oh, bless your heart. Yeah, that could be a problem.
I'm trying to, because you saw the next public comment person thing I'm gonna ask. I would like to know this, and this, and this, and this, and we can't get into that. But I appreciate you, sorry. I don't mean to try to be difficult. No, it's fine. I also need where those library books are posted. See Casey Gunnels, he can give you that information right now. take it.
Okay. We're back in our public meeting, and we are addressing agenda number 9, the hiring of Assistant Superintendent of Growth and Development.
Before we move forward with hiring a new position there, I would like to take a moment to thank Philip Anthony for his service. He has given us his resignation in December. 20 years as superintendent for this district, am I right? And 5 years as growth and development. Thank you for everything you've done.
Can't wait to see that fountain.
Sir, our district is indebted to you. Thank you for everything you've done. Now, I will entertain a motion on agenda number 9.
I make a motion to approve hiring Jonna Boitman as the new Assistant Superintendent of Growth and Development.
Bianca made the recommendation and the motion to hire Jonna Boatman as the new Assistant Superintendent of Growth and Development. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I think it was a tie. I'll give it to John. John seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing all hands. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations.
You want to say anything? Welcome home.
Come on up.
I know you want to say something. Come on down.
Glad to see a familiar face back in the crowd.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's my.
Are you coming up? Come on up.
Come on up. Welcome home, Jonna.
Glad to have you back.
No?
It's on now. It's on.
It's a little delay. I appreciate the opportunity to come back. Phil and I have worked together on a lot of the construction projects, and so I'm pretty familiar with everything. There's some pieces that he's going to have to train me on the next few months, so it's very helpful that we get to work together these next few months to kind of transition everything out. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
Welcome back.
So seeing no further business, our meeting is adjourned at 9:10. Where's Amy?